This is the story of Miguel Soto, aka Deadly Soto, and aka all the other aliases he go by. Free bro, free Deadly, free Soto, man. He wanted the story to be out, you feel me? And he been down a cool minute. But it's a very interesting story to me. And, to the younger crowd coming throughout Oak Park and surrounding areas. But yeah, man, this is as stated in the court documents. One afternoon, July 2006, defendant and his friends sitting at the food court, Sacramento Downtown Plaza Mall. At another table 10 feet away, I ain't gonna say the name, but I can bring up the name of the victim, which is Eric Young, known as JAYPAY. He originally was from Chicago, but was currently living in G Parkway at that time, and bang stars up. While at the food court, Young noticed that defendant's group was mugging or staring him up and down, and heard defendant and his friends calling them crabs. They say a derogatory statement for Crips, which we all know. Defendant displayed gang hand signs and said his group belonged to 4th Avenue Bloods, Fab, and all that shit. Young responded they were not from here and didn't know nothing about that. Then Young and his group left the food court to go to Old Sacramento. And they say about 15 to 20 minutes later, Young and his group returned to the mall. They ran into the group again and had a confrontation with the defendant and his group. I ain't gonna say the rest of the names, but I guess Young, which is JAYPAY, who he was with, his family, friends, whatever, they was with some Crips. So they got in a confrontation near the Hard Rock, and words was exchanged. And they was yelling 4th Ave and calling niggas rickets and crabs and all that shit, aimed at Young's group. And so they say the defendants and the group decided to fight, to go around the corner to avoid police and security. So they ended up at a construction site across the street from Macy's. And they say somebody gave a backpack to hold from Young's group. They gave him the backpack to hold, prepared to fight, and walk across the street to 6th Street. The defendant followed and stood back from Young's group, got ready to fight, and walked over to 6th Street. On the other side of the construction side, they were backed up, backed in, whatever. And then they say they were standing 5 to 10 feet away from people ready to fight. Then they squared off and all that shit. Then they say the defendant, and this is alleged that the defendant pointed a gun towards the crowd and let off 4 to 5 shots. They say 4 to 5 shots rang out as the defendant was shooting. He followed the crowd with his gun like he was dunk hunting. That's what the reports say. Then they say defendant shot Brewer on his left side, halfway between his shoulder and hip, and he was hospitalized for a couple days and needed a month to recover. Defendant shot Young in his lower back. The bullet severed Young's abdomen, which is the largest blood vessel in the body. So I guess he was shot in the blood vessel, and that's what caused him to die. Immediately after the shooting, defendant and his friends was, I guess, stopped by the police and detained for questioning and all that type of shit. So this whole story is about just like a confrontation. This like in the beginning of like the Fab and Stars, just like the very beginning of shit, when niggas start really like getting into it, and it was some on-site type shit and set tripping and all that type of shit. But Miguel Soto was given life. But not only was that, like he went on a run and shit, and they found him in like Mexico or some shit, which he has family there, I believe. So I don't think they ever like recovered a weapon or anything, but they had like witnesses and all that type of shit. I guess pointing them out, and I think one of the dudes that was shot, cause Bebe was killed, but one of his friends or cousins was shot, and you know, and just on-looking people that was testified against him. But he was caught in Mexico. He went on the run for I guess a couple months or probably not too long after that. But he was given life. He been locked up since he was 16. And he was older than me. I wasn't even 16 at that time, so he should be in his 30s. But he been down for a minute, so I don't know how the juvenile system play out with that. They gave him life without parole, but I think he probably should have a date by now. Like as of now, all these new laws is in effect with the juvenile system. It was no longer like giving juveniles life and shit. So I believe his shit was like overturned to where he have a date, and they say like 15th year anniversary, 20th, and 25 years anniversary and all that type of shit. So he should be up for parole anytime soon. Maybe it been longer than 15 years, somewhere in there, about 15 years or some shit like that. But yeah, man, he was inquiring through my partner, you feel me, to put out a story on him, and like it's really as like simple as that. But he's the person I feel like that came in the beginning of all this fab and stars, like the hiatus of all this shit, and can be forgot about, you know, especially by the young niggas in the streets. A lot of them young guys out there that's on both sides of that shit don't probably remember or even know who he is. They so young, and they was like super kids at the time, like babies and shit like that. But free Soto, man, you know, it's unfortunate he been down this long. Very unfortunate. Free Soto. Shout out to Deadly. You know, but this is Street Wars.